Alright, I found out what's causing trouble here. See this little guy? I came out here earlier and there was a little bastard roly-poly pill bug climbing all over it. I went to touch it. Look at this. No roots. Eat the roots. So I'm wondering if what's going on is this garden is where I dump all the leaves in the fall and I let them decompose. And I'm wondering if this is just such a nice little area with moisture and warmth that all the pill bugs, sow bugs, roly-polies, whatever you want to call them, are coming in here and eating whatever they possibly can, which includes roots and seeds and other stuff. So if you want a list of plants that are somewhat resistant to roly-polies, out of all of these plants there aren't that many. So the plan: diatomaceous earth, going the clean and organic route. However, these guys are pissing me off enough. I'm going to do a double tap here with some deltamethrin insect control granules. I was just going to do the diatomaceous earth, but this was on sale. Price was right, so hey, why not? We're going to sprinkle this over everything, and then I'll put this in between just to see what happens. Apparently, this is annoying and abrasive to roly-polies, and this outright kills them. 1, 2. Let's check it out. Well, there you go. I sprinkled the diatomaceous earth over everything. Hopefully it doesn't affect plants. I probably should have looked that up before I dusted everything. But quite frankly, I'm so pissed off at this point that these little bastards are getting my plants that we've worked so hard to grow, that I'm willing to reseed and start over again, even though normal planting season's in about 3 weeks here. So dusted everything, and I just put a ton of granules down of the insect killer in between all of these beds. I don't particularly like the idea of them being in the soil of the plants I'm growing, so yeah, we'll see what happens. Help me! Oh, it burns! It burns! Oh no! What if I go this way? No! Get out of my vegetables, you little pill. Well, it's doing something. I put it down less than 2 minutes ago and they're already kind of scrambling out of the planters. I don't know what this guy's doing. Run! Run away! There's nowhere to run! And nowhere to hide. So, I want to clarify a few things from my last video. We are in week 6 right now of this cold frame. Last week I was in a bit of a stage of rage and frustration, and went online and looked up anything really that would kill pill bugs, sow bugs, roly-polies. Roly-polies from now on, because that's what I grew up calling them. Typically, I try and go for organic methods. I don't like chemicals in my food, I don't like chemicals in my soil, I don't like chemicals everywhere. However, I am not chemical averse. You gotta use them when you gotta use them. And I went out looking for this diatomaceous earth, and I found it, and I was happy. And pretty much right next to it was this turf control for $3.50. So I figured, why not get both while I'm out, and we'll use what works. So I went to the hardware store, found both, and was ecstatic. I had not done a lot of research on, you know, how to use them, what to use them for, where to use them, when to use them, what they can go on, what they can't. I was in a state of seeing red, and I just wanted all the bugs dead, regardless. So, little information. You can go on pretty much any YouTube channel and search for diatomaceous earth and find various information, misinformation, whatever. But after compiling all of what I could find, diatomaceous earth is made from the shells of itty-bitty, teeny-tiny prehistoric organisms called diatoms. And the shells are extremely sharp, and of course this is extremely dry. So the effect is twofold. What you do is you get a duster, which I just made this out of an old soap bottle. You can see, come on, see a little dusting. You dust that on your plants when they're dry, because if they're not dry, this just absorbs moisture and goes into the soil and really doesn't do anything. So you dust it over everything, and these itty-bitty, teeny-tiny fossilized shells get under any insect, that get under the shells of any insect that has a shell, like a roly-poly or a beetle or whatever, and it annoys the living crap out of them. And this is great because they also can eat it, and it will destroy their insides and they'll die. That's only if it's dry. What I did was I just dumped a bunch of stuff on the plants, and unfortunately, well, fortunately, my cold frame is a relatively moist environment. So it wasn't super effective, but where it did, where there wasn't a lot of moisture on the plants and the soil, it worked extremely well. There's a ton, I'll show you here in a minute, there's a ton of roly-poly carcasses since I applied this 3 days ago. So this diatomaceous earth is a fantastic product, and I probably could have used it on its own. However, what I noticed is the roly-polies and even some slugs, yes, I used the beer method, so it's organic, it's good for you, bad for slugs. Used the beer method for the slugs, and I got quite a few of them, but I noticed that a lot of the bugs were hiding underneath and in the cracks and crevices of the little seed starting pots. So the diatomaceous earth couldn't get to them, and the poison obviously wasn't going to get to them. I didn't use the poison in the soil, I just put it around the planters, and it seemed to do a great job too. I did not video this, but I went out the next day just to see what, or the next evening, just to see what was going on, and I saw a couple slugs, and not a lot of roly-polies. So I think this stuff is fantastic for roly-polies. I took some of the dry diatomaceous earth and I sprinkled it on the slugs, and as a desiccant, part two of how diatomaceous earth works, it dried the slugs out really quickly. It was gruesome. I wasn't going to video it because it was rather nasty, but the slugs kind of split where I poured it on them, shriveled up, and died. So I can imagine this stuff being very effective in a dry environment on slugs. For roly-polies, it was fantastic. Highly recommend it alone. Like I said, you can only use this stuff in a dry environment. If it's wet, it kind of loses its effectiveness. Anyway, what I've done, and I'll show you here behind me, is I've taken all the plants out of the cold frame. I'm kind of sorting them, and anyway, I'll just show you. So here's a cold frame without any plants in it. You can see I have some cardboard, little crates filled with sawdust, soaked it down. I took the plants out and I kind of took a stick and stirred this around. It had the poison granules in it. You can see some of them are still kind of sitting there. It had the poison granules in it. I stirred it around so the poison would get kind of underneath and all around. So hopefully that works out really well. The reason I took the plants out is because some of them are getting pretty big. And when I lifted up the planting little pots, some of the roots have already gone through the bottom. So I think this week at some point I'm going to have to repot the larger ones. The other reason is this side of the cold frame got really dry really fast, as you've probably seen in some of the past episodes here. I think it's because this exhaust port is on that side. So there's more airflow over here. I think in a future iteration, if I ever do this again, I'll put some sort of damper on that exhaust port, and that way I don't have to worry about one side getting drier than the other. What I'm going to do is take some of these plants that are more mature than the other little seedlings. I'm going to put them over here because they can tolerate a little bit more dryness, and we'll put the plants that, you know, they're still seedlings or haven't germinated yet, we'll put them over here so they stay a little moist. The other thing I did, you can see here, I had the sensor, you can sort of see it back there, the sensor for the thermostat sitting behind a pot down here on the ground, which wasn't entirely accurate because it was at the bottom, which stays cooler, and you know, depending on where the sun was hitting, it just didn't pick things up accurately. I can't lay this in the full sun because it's black and the sun heats up the sensor in itself. So I'm putting it at the top of the cold frame to catch the hot air and putting it behind this little foil shield so that it doesn't get direct sunlight. So hopefully we get a much more accurate reading out of that. The temperature in the cold frame the other day was 106 degrees. The thermostat was reading 86 degrees. So that wasn't good. It was getting a little too hot in here. Anyway, that's it for now. I'm going to put all these plants back. Oh, here, these are everywhere. Check out, there's roly-poly skeletons, roly-poly skeleton. Yeah, they're everywhere, and they were all over in this sawdust. So that was very effective. I'm going to put these back. I'll show you what I've done once I put these back. All right, there you go. Everything's back. You can see I moved the plants that were a little bit more mature over here. These are definitely going to get repotted this week sometime into their own containers. You can see there are little tiny plants coming up from the reseeding effort. There. All these little guys popping up here. Still waiting on some stuff to happen over here. Oh, there's a little one. Yeah, don't know what's going on with these guys. We'll see if this helps any or if it's too late and the seeds are already rotted. There you go.